Imagine you hire an accountant. You give them access to your bank accounts, your investments, your property records, everything. A year later, you ask, "So, how much do I have?" And they look at you and say, "We don't know. We can't figure it out. But don't worry. We're working on it." You'd fire them immediately. Now imagine that accountant has been saying the same thing for 7 years in a row. And instead of getting fired, they get a raise. That's not a hypothetical. That's the United States Department of Defense. 7 consecutive failed audits. $4.1 trillion in assets they cannot account for. That's $4 trillion. $100 billion. More than the entire GDP of Germany. And here's what no one is telling you. This isn't incompetence. This isn't bureaucratic inefficiency. This isn't, "We need more time." The system was designed so that no one can ever know where the money goes. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we got here. Not through conspiracy theories, but through budget rules, legacy systems, and incentive structures that make accountability mathematically impossible. You'll meet the auditors who've tried to fix it, the budget officers who game it, the contractors who profit from it, and the politicians who protect it. By the end, you'll understand why the question isn't, "Why can't the Pentagon pass an audit?" The question is, why would they ever want to? Quick note, before we dive in, what I'm sharing is analysis and research based on official government reports, not professional financial advice. Your situation is unique. Always do your own research and consult professionals before making any major financial decisions. Now, to understand how $4 trillion disappears, we need to start with what disappears actually means. When the Pentagon says they failed an audit, most people imagine a few billion here and there that got miscounted. Let me give you the actual numbers from the Department of Defense Inspector General's 2024 report. $4.1 trillion in assets. That's not missing money. That's money they have but cannot track, cannot verify, cannot prove exists where they say it exists. Imagine owning a business where you can't prove you own your own inventory. Meet Sarah. Sarah spent 8 years as a federal auditor assigned to Defense Department accounts. Here's what she described. Consistent with findings in GAO 24. 1074-78. We would request documentation for a $50 million transaction. They would send us 47 different spreadsheets from 12 different systems. None of them matched. When we asked for reconciliation, they said the systems don't talk to each other. When we asked which system was correct, they said they didn't know. Let that sink in. The world's most powerful military, the largest discretionary budget in the federal government, and they cannot tell auditors which of their own spreadsheets is accurate. They've been trying to fix it since 1990. That's when Congress first mandated that all federal agencies pass an audit. Every single cabinet-level department has passed, except one. So here's the question you should be asking. If this were truly an accident, a genuine technical challenge they wanted to solve, wouldn't someone have fixed it by now? Every September, something strange happens at military bases across America. Units that have been frugal all year suddenly go on spending sprees. Equipment gets ordered that no one needs. Contracts get signed for services that won't be delivered until next fiscal year. Furniture gets replaced. Vehicles get upgraded. It's called the September Surge. And it's not corruption. It's rational behavior in an irrational system. Here's how federal budgeting works. If you don't spend your entire budget this year, Congress assumes you don't need that much. Next year, they cut it. You lose the money, and you lose your future funding. So what's the rational response? Spend everything, every dollar, every year, no matter what. Meet James. James is a budget officer at a major military installation. Here's what he explained. Consistent with findings in DoDIG 2024. 114. Every August, I get calls from commanders asking what they can buy. Not what they need. What they can buy. I've seen units order $200,000 worth of office furniture they didn't need. I've seen contracts for training that will never happen. But if we return that money, we lose it forever. And next year's budget gets smaller. You cannot make this stuff up. The Pentagon's budget is approximately $824 billion per year. That's $824 billion. And the system is designed to ensure every dollar gets spent, whether it's needed or not. Think about that. But here's where it gets worse. When you combine use it or lose it with 400 plus incompatible accounting systems, you get something remarkable. A system where no one can prove waste, even when everyone knows it exists. Is that intentional? Let me put it this way. If you wanted to design a system where accountability was impossible, you would design exactly this system. The result? The GAO has identified over $200 billion in what they call improper payments. Money that went somewhere. But no one can prove it went where it was supposed to go. That's not a rounding error. That's the GDP of Greece. In 2023, the Government Accountability Office counted the number of IT systems the Department of Defense uses. The number over 1,700. Of those, 423 are specifically related to financial management. 423 different systems trying to track the same money. How did this happen? Meet Mike. Mike spent 15 years as an IT contractor working on Pentagon systems. Here's what he explained. Every branch has their own systems. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. They all built their own. Then within each branch, different bases use different versions. Then you have legacy systems from the 80s that no one knows how to update, but everyone's afraid to turn off because something might break. When Congress mandates a new system, we don't replace the old one. We build a new system and create a bridge to the old system. Now you have two systems. The bridge becomes its own system. Now you have three. Multiply that by 40 years. The Pentagon tried to fix this once. In 2004, they launched the Defense Integrated Military Human Resources System. It was supposed to unify personnel and financial data across all branches. It was cancelled in 2010. After spending $1 billion, it never worked. Since then, GAO 25. 108052 found that the Pentagon has spent over $36 billion on IT modernization since 2014. $36 billion. The result? More systems. Not fewer. At some point, you have to ask, is this incompetence or is this protection? When no one can trace the money, no one can be blamed for where it went. When the systems don't talk to each other, everyone can point to someone else's system. The complexity doesn't just make audits impossible. It makes accountability impossible. And that protects a lot of people. Here's something that should surprise you. The Pentagon's audit failures are not a secret. The reports are public. The GAO publishes them. The Inspector General testifies to Congress. Journalists write about it. And yet, nothing happens. No major reforms. No budget cuts. No consequences. Because fixing this problem isn't in anyone's political interest. Meet Lisa. Lisa worked as a congressional aide for 12 years, serving members of both parties. Here's what she explained. Defense spending is distributed across all 50 states. Every state has bases. Every state has contractors. Every state has jobs tied to the defense budget. When a senator pushes too hard on Pentagon accountability, they're not just attacking the Pentagon. They're threatening jobs in their own state. The defense industry donates to both parties, roughly equally. That's not an accident. That's insurance. The top 5 defense contractors: Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, have operations in all 50 states. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. It means every senator, every representative, has constituents whose jobs depend on defense contracts. Attacking Pentagon spending means attacking your own voters and the donations. In the 2024 election cycle, the defense industry contributed over $35 million to federal candidates, split almost evenly between parties. Stop and think about that for a moment. $35 million. Both parties. Equal protection. That's not corruption. That's an insurance policy. And you are the one paying the premium. So when a Republican talks about fiscal responsibility, they exclude defense spending. When a Democrat talks about corporate accountability, they exclude defense contractors. The result: 7 years of failed audits and 0 consequences. 0 cabinet officials fired. 0 generals demoted. 0 contracts cancelled. 0 systemic reforms passed. The only consequence: more budget. The Pentagon's budget has increased every single year during their 7-year audit failure streak. In any private company, 7 years of failed audits would mean bankruptcy, criminal investigation, prison time. For the Pentagon, it means a raise. That's not a bug. For some, that's the feature. I want to be very clear about something. I'm not saying there's a secret meeting where contractors and generals and politicians gather to plot how to waste taxpayer money. I'm saying something more uncomfortable. No one needs to conspire when everyone's incentives align. Let's follow the money. Defense contractors make money from contracts. The bigger the contract, the more they make. The longer the contract, the more they make. What threatens contracts, audits, accountability? Someone asking, did we really need this $50 billion program? What protects contracts? Complexity, confusion, systems so tangled that no one can prove anything was wasted. Pentagon officials build careers on programs. Generals don't get promoted for saving money. They get promoted for managing bigger budgets, leading bigger programs, commanding more resources. A general who says, actually, we don't need that new weapons system doesn't get called fiscally responsible. They get called soft on defense. Politicians need votes and donations. Every representative, every senator, has defense jobs in their district. Cutting waste means cutting jobs means losing elections. Increasing budgets means more jobs means winning elections. No one needs to conspire. Everyone is just following their incentives. The numbers tell the story. Between 2018 and 2024, the Pentagon received over $5.6 trillion in appropriations. During those same 7 years, they failed every single audit. $5 trillion, $600 billion in public money. 0 accountability. The 5 largest defense contractors saw their combined stock prices increase by over 180% in that period. Their CEOs earned, on average, $23 million per year each. Failed audits didn't hurt them. Failed audits helped them. Because here's what a successful audit would reveal: which programs actually work and which don't. Which contracts delivered value and which didn't? Which spending was necessary and which was pure waste? That information would be devastating. Not to national security, but to the businesses built on opacity. Ask yourself, if you were a defense contractor, would you want the Pentagon to pass an audit? If you were a general protecting your budget, would you want transparent accounting? If you were a politician with defense jobs in your district, would you want someone counting every dollar? The system isn't broken. The system is working exactly as designed. But if everyone knows the system is designed this way, why does nothing change? The answer lies in what happens when someone actually tries to hold them accountable. This is where it gets infuriating. Every year, Pentagon officials testify before Congress. Every year, they say the same thing. We're making progress. We're committed to audit readiness. We expect to pass within the next few years. They said this in 2018. They said this in 2020. They said this in 2022. They said this in 2024. The current target, 2028. Maybe. But here's what no one in those hearings asks. What happens if they fail again? The answer, nothing. The same thing that's happened every other year. More testimony. More promises. More budget. We're working on it isn't an excuse anymore. We're working on it has become the strategy. As long as they're working on it, no one can say they've given up. As long as the target keeps moving, no one can say they've definitively failed. As long as progress is promised, accountability can be deferred. Year after year, trillion after trillion. The DoD Inspector General's most recent report, DoDIG 2025-074, identified the same material weaknesses that were identified in 2018. 7 years. Same problems. Same explanations. Same promises. At what point do we stop calling this a problem they're trying to solve? At what point do we recognize this is a solution that's working perfectly? So where does that leave us? Let me leave you with this. This isn't incompetence. Incompetent organizations don't survive 34 years of scrutiny. This isn't bureaucracy. Bureaucracies can be reformed when there's political will. This is design. The Pentagon can't account for $4 trillion. That's not going to change. The system is designed this way. But here's what you can do. First, understand the connection. Pentagon waste leads to money. Printing leads to inflation, leads to your purchasing power disappearing. You've learned the mechanism today. Knowledge is your first defense. Second, consider protecting yourself. Consider diversifying into assets that may hold value when currency doesn't. Real estate, commodities, businesses, skills. The government can print dollars. They can't print more land. They can't print your expertise. That said, every investment carries risk. And asset values can fluctuate. Do your own research. Third, build resilience. Develop income streams and skills the system can't devalue. The more self-sufficient you are, the less their dysfunction matters to your life. Keep in mind, these are general principles based on my analysis, not personalized financial advice. What works for one person may not work for another. Always consult professionals for your specific situation. They can't fix the system, but you can fix your position in it. The government can't manage their money, but you can manage yours. Ask yourself, who benefits from you not knowing this? That answer will tell you everything. If you want to understand more hidden mechanisms in how money and power really work, subscribe and hit the bell. I'll see you in the next one.